Hi, and welcome to Family Matters. Once again, we're looking at intercultural marriages. Today we have, we're recording on location in Milton Keynes.
All right.
And we have a lovely young couple. Do you want to introduce yourselves, or do you want me to introduce you? Actually, introduce yourself. That's more fun.
Right. Okay. I'm Yinka Oladiran,
and I'm Julia Oladiran.
Fantastic. Oladiran doesn't sound like a typical English name.
No chance.
So do you want to tell us where you're from, Yinka Oladiran?
Right. Okay. Yeah. My heritage. I'm actually from Nigeria, and from the western part of Nigeria, which is the Yoruba-speaking part of Nigeria. And Julia?
Well, I'm from the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. I was born in Guadeloupe, raised in Dominica. So yeah, we just end up meeting each other 2 worlds apart, isn't it?
Yeah,
wow.
Fantastic. There's nothing like love, isn't it? People from different cultures can meet together and chat. And this is what we're about in this show. We want to find out a few things about you, but maybe we should pray first. It's always good to start with prayer. And I'll ask Ruth, please can you pray for us?
Okay, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for this opportunity to learn more about the gift of marriage that you've given us, Lord, and all the different flavours. So, Lord, we ask that you be with us, guide us, and inspire us, we pray. Amen.
Well, you may actually be wondering who we are. I'm Brian Guy Maxwell, and
I'm Ruth Maxwell.
And we're host for this hour. And like I said, we'll be looking at intercultural marriages. Well, over to you. Maybe let me ask Yinka, where did you guys meet?
There's always a question that tickles, isn't it? Yeah, we actually met right here in Milton Keynes at the MK Church. And it was about, say, 12 years ago. Yeah.
Come on, you need to give us some more. The day, what was going on.
Oh, wow. Okay, you wanted to break it down. You want
to break it down.
Well, first of all, I have to say, I'm the kind of person, when I come to church, I know we just sit at the back and quickly run out. And I was new to this church, Milton Keynes SDA Church, Fish and Meat. And I would just, as I said, usually sat down at the back and just make my way out. But I think Yinka spotted me first.
He spotted you.
Yeah, I think he spotted me.
Were you on the hunt then, Yinka? Were you on the prowl?
You see, it's a good thing to come to church early. You say you get your blessings first. So I think we came in that, I think sometime about maybe 9:15 that day. And when I came into church, I think there were just a few people. And I just saw this beautiful, pretty lady just sitting at the last pew with hair well curved to the back.
Wow.
And I just said, you know what? I'm not missing this chance. I have to sit near her today. I don't even have to say anything. I just want to sit close to her today. I just got my sit very close to her. And yeah, that's how the day just began. And I knew that was going to be a beautiful day.
So how did you feel then, Julia, when he came and sat next to you?
Well, I did not notice him at all. Really, I'm sure. I did not really pay attention to who was sitting next to him. I was just focused on the worship service, really. And I've been told behind the scenes that they were obviously checking me out. But the only thing I remember at the end is him asking for he did not have a Bible.
Okay.
I think that's when I actually paid attention to him. Yes, he did not have a Bible.
It's all coming out now.
Yeah, he didn't have a Bible. And then I had to end up sharing my Bible with him.
You
and I was
so-and-so,
told at the
Yinka.
end that someone took his Bible from him, remember?
Really? So was that part of the strategy?
It was a strategy. Now I remember.
All right.
Because the plot was, when we got into church, my cousin and I saw her, that was lady, and she said, you have to go and say close to her, I'm going to get your Bible. You're not taking your Bible with you, so you have to share something with her. So she got my Bible from me, and I was forced to go with her. And then when we had to open the Bible and stuff like that, it was just, shifting through the pages and stuff like that. So that's how we got conversation started anyway, on the Bible.
Yeah. So where did it go from there? How did it kind of, develop into something? When did you kind of realize, Julia, this could be a thing?
I didn't realize it was really gonna be what it is now, but as you know, God has His way, and I think we just continued in conversation, getting to know each other. I mean, it was pure friendship, and then from there, it just blossomed into something, marvelous.
Okay, I mean that is beautifully put, but I want more detail. Give me the detail. What do you mean by who made the first move?
Right.
So they always say this: when you want to go for something, pretend that you're not going for it, or actually don't go for it like you want to go for it. So I saw this pretty lady. I wanted to just get to know her. That was my aim. I didn't want to have any relationship with her. I didn't want to have any long-term thing. I just wanted to get to know her. That was my aim. So going to sitting down there was the first connection. And unfortunately, I think for the next 2 weeks, I didn't get to see her again. So basically, I was doing a lot of plotting and magning and planning all through those 2 weeks. And the next time I saw her was after service, and she was about to go like she always used to go. And I just went and sprang after her and said, "Whoa, where have you been?" And, just caught up again. And I think at the end of that conversation, I actually once we just finished it, I just left. And she told me later that, "How did you do that?" I said,
he kept me hanging. Like, I wanted more. I wanted to know more.
Yeah.
It was interesting, the conversation.
So did you suspect that he may be running game on you or whatever, or doing his best, throwing his best lyrics at you?
I wouldn't say running game. I think he was just being natural, being himself, and I think something connected. We kind of shared something that I was just interested in him, and he was just interested in knowing me. And I remember before even meeting him, I prayed, I said, "Lord, I'm new to this church. I would like a friend, someone that's, a friendship." Yeah. And I just saw it like that was a pure friendship right there.
Yeah, I think she liked my lyrics, and she told me after that, "Oh, I like the way you approached it and the way you talked."
Wow. Okay, so obviously, fast forward, you're married now. Yeah. So who did the proposing?
Definitely. The guy.
And how did that go? How did you propose, Yinka?
It was I remembered because I had to go away to do my masters, and I think someone told me before I left, they said, "Don't keep the lady waiting." And I think we've been dating for about a year and a half then. He said, "Don't keep the lady waiting." And I always had that in my mind, and I said, "Okay, I have to do this sometime." And I think it was after I finished my master's program, and I started working on it. Okay, what do I need to get? If I had to get a ring, and if I had to get a ring, then I had to, because I just finished my master, I had to get a job and stuff like that. So I got something doing, and I started saving towards the ring. And I actually planned in such a way that by the time I finished getting whatever I needed for it, and then I was going to do the proposal. So my friend and I went to the shop to check out some rings and stuff like that. And this was in a period of 4 months anyway. So putting everything together, got the ring, made sure that I tried to get at the size of a finger as clean as possible.
How?
I think I tried.
How?
I don't know. I think she used to have a ring I saw somewhere, and I picked it and I said, "Oh, just try this ring. How does it look on your hand?" Something like that. So I was trying to get away, but I think I kind of got as close as possible. And on the day of the proposal, she didn't know anything about it. I planned all. We went for dinner. Yeah, and
did you suspect, Julia?
No, I mean, we've been on dinner, so it's not.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of.
Yeah, made it very unsuspicious. So she wasn't suspecting anything. Yeah, it was just another Sunday evening, and I actually planned it so much in that I wanted to propose to her in French. And
Come on.
don't ask me. I can't remember all the lyrics. I wanted to propose that. So I think I gave Sylvia something like that to help me do some. I wrote the words in English. And
So would Sylvia be her friend?
Yeah, at the time,
Yeah.
absolutely. And she helped me to convert it to French. So I started memorizing and getting it.
You did your homework.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it was going to be a special moment, and I wanted to make it right.
Yeah.
And on the day, we just walked down to the park.
It was spot on, I would say.
Yeah, so it was.
Fantastic.
It met your expectations of a proposal.
Yeah, I mean, he took me out. I think after the dinner, went for a nice romantic walk.
Come on.
In a special spot we have in Milton
Lovely.
Keynes, and that's when he actually, shared and started bringing out more. And I'm like, why is he going with this, And then next thing he was on his knee and he started just telling it to me in French. I'm like, hello, wow, impressed. Yes, definitely. And the ring was spot on, the size and everything. It was just amazing.
Fantastic.
So
Okay.
how long have you been married now then?
Well, we're going on 8 years. Wow. Yeah, this year,
Excellent.
8 years.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Okay, our listeners may be wondering who we are. Who are we, Ruth?
So I'm Ruth Maxwell.
Yes, and I'm Brian Maxwell,
And
but
we
who are we?
are on the Family Matters show. We're looking at intercultural marriages, and we would really, really love for you to contact us or to email in if you've got any questions or any ideas of topics. So please email studio@adventistradio.london or text 82228 the word hope, and then a space, and then your message. Okay, so we'd love to hear from you.
That was quite a mouthful, but she do great. We're looking at communication today, so Yinka and Julia will be sharing with us how they communicate and lessons we can learn about communication.
You're listening to Adventist Radio London. This is the Family Matters Show. If you want to email in with any ideas, any questions or any topics, please email at studio@adventistradio.london or text 82228, the word hope, a space, and then your message.
Yeah, and today we have a lovely couple, Yinka Oladuran and his wife, Julia Oladuran, and we're looking at communication in intercultural relationships, where intercultural marriages. Communication is hard enough in a normal, same culture type marriage, but there's different nuances when it comes to intercultural marriages, and that's what we want to have a look at today. Julia, did you grow up in a multilingual house? Because you spoke about Yinka proposing in French. Why would he do that?
Yes. As I said, I grew up in Dominica, but I was born in Guadeloupe, which, that's where we speak French. In Dominica, we speak Creole, which is broken French and English. So I would say we're bilingual, since we only have two languages we speak at home with the family. Yeah.
How about yourself, Yinka?
Similar. I think for us it was more of speaking English, because in Nigeria you have three different languages, major languages, which is Yoruba, Hausa, and the Igbo. But we grew up in the north, and basically it's about the Hausas and everything. But we're Yoruba, and so we'll usually speak Yoruba at home. But the very interesting thing is, because Dad did not want us to mix Yoruba with English and all of that, he kind of like restricted us from speaking the Yoruba so that we don't mess up our English, because he was kind of an Englishman. We stayed there for some time before we went back to Nigeria, so I think he wanted us to get our English really clear, so we really focused on the English, although Mum would speak to us in Yoruba and everything. But would always reply back in English, and I think that's how we lost the flow of Yoruba, but we can still speak it now, but that's how it was then.
So what language do you speak in your household?
English,
yeah. Okay.
So
did you have to learn English then, Julia?
Well, I spoke English. That just came naturally because I went to school in Dominica. Okay. But when I go on holidays, my mom, my sisters, they speak French, so I had to speak French when I'm on holidays, I would say.
Fantastic. What language do you use in our household, Di?
English, mostly.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the sprinkling.
Yes, I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I speak Isintu, which is a Southern African language spoken. I can make myself understood in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and maybe even bits of Botswana. But in Zimbabwe, my language is called Isindebele. So that's the language that I speak. I speak to our son in Isindebele, and Ruth is on her way to learning it.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Do you guys have like your own language apart from me? Is there like a little Creole Yoruba thing you got going on in your household?
You want to go with that?
Well, I've been learning Yoruba, and at least I know to greet, and I know how to sympathize, the different things. And Yinka, I've been learning French. I mean, he's been trying his really best. So
like, it's not like I'm so fluent with it, but I think I started a program sometime last year. I've fallen off the way anyway, but I plan to go back to it again. So but speaking my language Yoruba, we don't really speak that, to each other, and sometimes we speak it to JL just to maybe get messages across.
Would that be your son?
Yeah, JL. Yeah. And that's it's not really heavy. So we communicate more in English than in any other respective other language.
Would you say, like in some instances, there's benefits in learning each other's languages, or maybe keywords or phrases, in different situations or something? What have you found the benefits to be?
It is, definitely, I would say you need to know it, because, I went to Nigeria, I visited Nigeria, and it's just nice to be able to connect with the relatives when they start speaking. I don't understand everything, but when they have a conversation, I can actually relate, and I'll be like, oh, I know that word. I know what, So I'm in the good books, and I'm in the good books.
So did they like speak to you in English, or around it? Did they speak in English when you went to Nigeria, or did they just chatter away in Yoruba?
Well, I mean, that's just natural. They would just speak when if that's their
Yeah.
language. But
Yeah.
when I'm around, I think they make a conscious effort. But they speak English naturally. That's the family. They speak English. I think maybe it's the older folks that would start speaking Yoruba when they come and greet mom and dad. And
Yeah. So I think, with the Yoruba thing is, it has to be maybe very specific, and they know she's not, from the part of our world anyway. So when they're communicating, they go English, and they're actually happy to speak English to her rather than speaking Yoruba.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds that language is not a barrier.
No, absolutely not.
communication.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you had any instances where you think about how you communicate in your marriage now, and how maybe you viewed your parents or people who looked after you, how they communicated? Do you see any similarities, or are there any differences that you've intentionally made to be like, well, I'm not going to be doing that, or anything like that? How you communicate to each other and how you've seen your parents communicate with each other?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say growing up with my we're quite vocal. I would say we're to the point. We tell it to you as it is, But I've learned in my being married now that certain things you just can't say it all out. You have to be conscious of what's going on around you and how you say things. Whereas before it was just like, you speak your heart.
Right.
You feel it, you say it. But now I'm more conscious of how I say things, and I'm still in learning progress. We're still learning.
Absolutely.
Do you know, I'm noticing something. You guys look at one another when you speak, like almost like to compare and to check. Is that something that came naturally, or is it something that you've had to develop over the years?
I think it's kind of natural. Like, basically, if I'm communicating, I like to look at the person I'm communicating as much as possible, because there's a lot to pick from non-verbal communication than what we speak. So I think for me, it's a very strong point for me, because when I'm communicating with you and I'm looking at you, I'm able to pick up points, and it helps me on how I continue my communication and how I can make it more effective. Yeah. So that's how I really get on with it, and maybe I've rubbed off on her. She's whichever one it goes. So I think it's quite interesting to understand, especially from where we're coming from. My parents were speaking Yoruba to each other, and most of the time they communicate with Yoruba. And although we did not speak it really growing up and all that, but we understood what they were saying. And I think with us having a base language, which is English, and base language with communication, we don't really have much issues on how we communicate words. Maybe it's just sometimes how you communicate those words in the language, in quote, that is understood, that might have a problem. But with the language base itself, I don't think we have any issues with communicating with that.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that for me, apart from verbal communication, I like our body language says a lot. I feel like I can tell him something across the room, and he get me. You know what I mean?
Was that from the start, or do you think was that something that that you developed?
You developed.
Is there something like when you're a little kid and you do something naughty across from the church, and your mom gives you the eye, and you pray that sunset is prolonged and Sabbath lasts long? Is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, you can take it from that angle as well. Yeah, definitely. You just know, you get me. You get me.
Right.
Yeah.
So Yinka, are there any things, because I know Julia's said about she's had to just review how she shares things, or how she, talks about things just out there. Are there any things that you've had to kind of adjust and adapt? Any ways of, communicating with Julia as you're growing in your marriage?
I believe that there's always a part to develop, and I believe because communication is a very important part of any relationship, and most importantly marriage, it's vital and very important for me to take things on board. And even though we have different backgrounds on how we communicate things, as she said before, when Julia feels a way, she just blots it out, and this is how I feel, no reservations and all that. I'm a quite different person, because basically I kind of think of what I want to say most of the time before I say, and sometimes you don't think of everything you want to say, but for me, I'm more conscious of what I say. So with us coming together and all that, I've learned a lot on actually watching the words I say, and sometimes I say the wrong words and she tells me, oh, you said this. I say, oh, I didn't know that it hurt you, and that kind of thing. So I think for me, I'm more conscious about how I say things and the tone I use to say them.
Right, okay.
I kind of look at some of those things, the intricacies on how I say them, because I know that they carry a lot of power. And once I let it go, it's going to do the damage or do whatever building, whatever it's going to do. And that's how I actually view communication, especially with Julia. And I think she is caught up a lot with that, because now she has kind of minimized and that. And I always tell her, oh yeah, sometimes when you want to speak, think about what you want to say, because you don't know what the other person is thinking about what you want to say. Although you're saying your mind and you want to pass across a message, but be careful how you actually pass the message so that you don't cause more damage than good, even though you're close.
Oh my goodness, this is like listening to Ruth. Okay, Yinka, forget that this is a radio show. So how do you feel like if, like, when you have to climb down and you've used the wrong word and everything within you is saying, you know what, let me just, this is a runaway train, let me just go down the track. How do you feel now when you have to say, okay, maybe that wasn't the right thing to have said?
That's quite interesting.
Just describe that emotional thing that happens in you.
I think
help your brother out.
I'm feeling really comfortable with it now.
Yeah.
Because what I've been reading a lot of books about communication, and some books that really talk about how we influence other people with the way we talk to them and stuff like that. And one of them says, seek first to understand.
Ooh.
Before you understood. Okay. Because most of the time we block this and, oh yeah, you're not understanding me, you need to get from where I'm coming from. But then you have not settled down to see from where the other person is coming from. So, and this is what I'm learning, and over the last couple of months I've actually put it into practice, that even if we had a disagreement, or if I said something and basically if I felt that she did something and I didn't feel right about it, I think about what I said before then and say, okay, what triggered that?
Okay.
And immediately I get that, and that's why I say you always have to step back. Immediately I get that, I apologize straight up. I always look at it as, you know what? Okay, you said something inflicted. Apologize for that. I don't expect her to apologize for what she's done. So I think that makes me feel at peace more than always expecting something from you. I'm actually going to give rather than expect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to come in at this point, Julia?
Yeah, I think he's very quick to apologize. That's why one of the things I've noticed about my husband, he's quick to just say, I'm sorry. He's ready to take the blame. Whereas I'm the kind of person, I hold it. I'm like, really? You're so quick? Come on, But I say, he has taught me so much, in terms of how we communicate with each other. And I just realized, just let it go, just move on and just, keep it going, because it's a learning process, isn't it? So, that's what I found.
And I think one of the reasons why I've actually taken that on board and basically it's become a habit to me is I don't have time to start thinking of what went wrong, because it takes a lot from my end, it takes a lot from me, it takes a lot, I think about it. So I say, you know what, why not deal with this thing now? Get it out. And the thing, the very interesting, honest thing is, I don't think about it that much. So once I've said it, that's it. It clears up my mind. I have other things to think about, because I believe that I operate at a state where I love to be in a beautiful state.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's
the beautiful state.
Yes, I operate on a beautiful state, and anything that is going to be tangential to that, I get it off as quick as possible, because that is my state. That's where I've programmed my mind to be, and that's how I work.
Wow.
Yeah.
What you were saying reminded me of something that we heard at the marriage seminary. Remember the concept of grace? That was by Pastor Wesley Knight, wasn't it? One of the marriage seminars last year, whatever year we attended. And what he was saying was that give the other person the benefit of the doubt. Because I think one of my issues was that when she did something or said something, I was like, man, she's doing this because she is mean and wants to cause me pain, and I cannot believe she's just done this to me, and she said this to me again after we have said time and time over, and she said sorry for the same thing and she keeps doing it. If she really loved me, she wouldn't keep doing this. What is wrong with this girl? Why can't she just... And then and this whole concept of grace just frees me. freed me up, because what the concept says is I give the other person the benefit of the doubt. They did this thing not because they are mean. They did this thing because they just did the thing. Don't read too much into it. I give them the benefit of the doubt. Allow them the grace. And what you were saying sounded a bit like that concept, that you be more. Don't wait for the person to say sorry. Forgive them before they say sorry. I mean, this is an area that I'm still growing in, because I'll quite happily hold on to that pain and that hurt for a while. And like you say, it's very counterproductive, and it freezes you up and it causes tension in your relationship. But this whole concept of grace says, I don't know why you did it, you hurt me, but I forgive you before you ask for forgiveness. And then I treat you like I've forgiven you.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from this conversation as well, that communication, and we'll move on to that a little bit later, but it's not just about the words, not just about the conversation, but actually the context of the conversation and reflecting as well, and also the listening. And that's what I'm getting from this, that's a big part of communication. Well, this is the Family Matters show. We're looking at intercultural marriage, and I'm Ruth Maxwell.
And I'm Brian Maxwell. And today we're looking at communication.
And we would love for you to call in or text in, email in, if you've got any views on this topic or any other topics that you'd like us to discuss. So email studio@adventistradio.london or text 82228, the word hope, a space, and then your message. You're listening to Adventist Radio London. This is the Family Matters show. And the topic is
communication, and once again our focus is on intercultural marriages, and today we have Julia and Yinka Oladiran, and we've been talking about a few things off air while the song was playing. Ruth, what were you sharing off air, Ruth, that you want to share on the record?
Well, we were just talking a little bit about Yinka mentioned, what if you have those kind of conversations and you leave it and then you have to have your whole day where you have to carry this thing through your whole day. Do you want to do that, or is that a good thing? And I was saying that that's the thing that tears me up completely. If we've had an argument in the morning, I am messed up for the whole day. That's my day done. I can't focus, I can't work, I'll cry over tripping over anything, because for me, all I want to do is resolve the issue that came about at the beginning of the day. And so I think that's probably where I always need to feel, okay, let's just resolve this now, because I just don't want to carry this on and feel the anxiety and what's going to happen if, and I just can't.
Whereas I'm saying, okay, I'm too angry to resolve it right now. Give me a moment to calm down, and then I'm going to resolve it.
And I'm dying.
And I don't know. And one of the things is like, then it's like, especially if it's in the evening, then you have to have devotion. Like, can it's like, okay, can we now pray? It's like, I don't want to pray just yet. I just want to get over this hump. But you're right. When we come together in prayer, there's something in that coming together in prayer that you resolve the issue, because you can't. God knows what I look like naked, and is not impressed. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So when you have to come to Him now, you are stripped of every pretension or anything like that. So we have to resolve it. Yeah. Okay. So, have you guys found any barriers to communication?
Any barriers, you think? At the moment, I can't think of. I could just bring out, like, we had one this morning, didn't we?
Go for it.
We had one this morning.
Let's keep it real.
Go for it.
Yeah. So I can just share that one. I think so. We were talking about something before, and then I was trying to express myself and say, I'm not happy about something. I'm not happy about this, and he was like, No, because he's thinking why I'm saying I'm not happy is because of what we said earlier. Yeah, so that was miscommunication right there. Whereas I'm like, no, it's not that. I'm not talking about that. I'm telling you this. And he was like, but you want his point to be heard. Yeah. So I feel like sometimes we do miscommunicate. You're communicating with each other, but there's some things that you're saying that the person has not grasped it yet.
Yes.
And that can come across as if, we're having a bit of a tension right there. Trying to figure out who is right or which side should we take, isn't it? Like, whose side?
Do you guys care who wins?
Yeah, I'm telling you. I don't know, but I like to win.
Right.
Yeah.
Really, I'm putting it out there. I think he knows that by now. I like to win, so he's like, and I think he doesn't want me to feel like, not like you're losing, but it's like you want to be in the good books still. You still want to keep, stay in the good books. So he allowed me, and that's why I feel sometimes he apologize quickly,
Yeah.
because you want to keep the day
Keep
going,
the peace.
keep the peace
Yeah.
and everything.
Well, somebody, what does the Bible say? Blessed are the peacemakers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
As much as my mom or dad will tell you, I don't go down in battle. And to me, it's like when you're having an argument or whatever discussions you're having, and it turns into where, okay, yeah, this is my point and that is your point. I come to a point and I say, what are we trying to get at? Because I'd say for every conversation, there has to be an end point. Why did I start the conversation? And if the conversation is going to go where we have to now start, arguing about seriously for 15 minutes, it doesn't make sense. So for me, it's more of like getting into that place, that zone where, okay, where are we going with this?
Right.
And if I believe that it's not going to a good place, I just said, okay, you know what? Why are we talking about this anyway? We can just kill it here. And if it really pains me, I want to I want to tell you what I felt about it, not like point out to you, but this is how I feel about it, and I don't appreciate it. So there are specific vocabularies I bring out when I want to pass across that. So I don't just say anything, so that I use the right word for the right situation instead of making someone to misconstrue that. Albeit sometimes you feel that your way of communication is being misconstrued, especially as she said this morning, and I put it in context. When we were coming this morning, there was a car that was parked on the road, and I said, I don't understand how people park their cars on the road. That is not just nice. You cannot be parking your car on the road. And like, when we got here, I think we forgot something at home, and she said, oh, I need to go home. And she said, I should park on the road. I said, but I just talked about it now. That I don't like people parking on the road. And you're telling me to park on the road. That if we don't go with our principles, then we're the same as that. Yeah. And she was talking about going home.
Like, what are you talking about? That's not the point. I just want to go back home. Just
and I said, I don't want you. I said, I didn't send you to go home. You said you want to go home. I didn't send you that. So don't put that anger on me and stuff like that.
Isn't it amazing how you can just have a flare up over nothing? Over nothing.
Yeah, so yeah, that's actually how it went down this way. But at the end of the day, she came back and we did a high five later, and that was it. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, like when you first got married, were there what initial misunderstandings, or did you have anything that you found difficult in terms of communication? If you were to go back in time, how long did you say you've been together? 12 years?
12 years, yeah.
If you were to go back 12 years to Julia, and you could speak to Julia 12 years ago, looking at Yinka now, what would you say to her?
I think we just communicated freely from the beginning. But when you're married, it's just different.
Yeah.
There's just certain things you get annoyed with quickly.
Yeah.
Because you're living together now. It's it's a different relationship from friendship to marriage. So you're now realizing, oh my gosh, okay, how do I say this now? Okay, how do I communicate this across that it does not really make him feel like offended in any way. So you're a bit more conscious of how you say things when you're married compared to when you're friends. Because when you're dating, you put on your best suits, isn't it?
Yes.
You're like, we just want to impress each other, really, and say nice things.
Right.
But we've been really open, I think, and that's why we got to where we are now.
Okay.
Deciding to get married. Yeah.
Fantastic. What about you, Yinka? What would you say to Yinka 12 years ago?
To me, it was like, that's why I say for me, I start on, I try to be as open as possible, and I try not to put anything under guise, like, okay, you're pretending to be somewhere. When I see something and I'm not really happy about it, I bring it in such a way that I let you know how I feel about it, but in such a way that how do we move forward from here? Okay. And I think for me, that's how I've always approached it. And I think another thing again is because of the way we grew up and all that, I'm quite an outspoken person. And my mom will always tell you, or Yinka will just tell you, and my dad will even tell you the same thing. You know, whenever we're having our family meeting, Dad will always say, Yinka will just tell you, is mine, how he feels about it. But that's it. You know, once I say it, that's it, just crush it and go ahead. So I think for me, whenever I was getting into any relationship, especially, you know, the one when we really started, if I say something, that's it. You know, I forget about it and we just move along. And I think I've built that over years. And I've learned to be patient as well, because when I first met her, she was quite abrasive. Julia was caught.
Abrasive. Do you see, when you say abrasive, I'm thinking like a pot scourer or something like sandpaper.
Like, she will cut you out. Like, if she doesn't like it, she says it with a corner at the end or something at the end to make sure that you get the message and stuff like that. But you know,
that's the whole purpose of growth.
Absolutely. Yeah. And over the years, she was like, you know, I said, look at, you used to be like this before, you used to snap and like.
Well, what about you? I'm hearing a lot of Julia. What about you? What would you say to Yinka in terms of communication? What if you could say one thing in one sentence to Yinka 12 years ago, what would you say?
I think it's something I've been working on a long time. So I think, yes, I've grown a bit from there, but it has always been my ethos now on how to deal with, you know, how I communicate. I think for me, it has always been something I focused on, especially when, after my grandmother told me that I used to get angry really easily. That was when I was still a teenager. So I actually became very conscious of it and I prayed about it. So the way I communicated was very important to me. And that's why most people, when they say, oh yeah, you're always smiling, you're always doing that, I say, it's because I've put a conscious effort into making sure that I'm at the best of me.
What about you, Brian? What would you have said to yourself?
I would have said, dude, you want to think deeply about this. I guess for me it's humility, and I think, and not to be proud to say you're sorry, because I think that's a hard thing for me, just to say I'm sorry to you. And you don't need to be right all the time. Even when you are right, you don't need to be right. It's okay just to let some things go, because I think I've learned I don't have to be right all the time, but I needed to be right. Especially, I know I'm right, but these are the facts. And I've learned that in marriage, the facts actually to ladies don't really matter. And that was really irrational to a logical thinking Brian. But these are the facts. I was in this conversation. But so I've learned to be humble, and I've learned to hold back and not say what's on my mind all the time. And I'm learning, because that's one of the things she constantly tells me, you need to watch the words that you say. And it's not even just the words, it's the tone. Apparently it's the tone, because I could be speaking what I think is a no man, and she said, you know what, that was very condescending. That was, when was it, just recently? That was hurtful, the way you said that. Like, really? I just said this. So I'd say you are young, but you will learn.
Okay, so let's have a look at another area. When you disagree, how do you approach this? So there's something's happened, and there needs to be a conversation. Are there any key phrases that you use to communicate how you feel about it? Are there any processes that you use to show your disagreement to each other? I mean, how do you go about this?
I think, as I said before, it's always like, when we get into a conversation, when we disagree, is why did we disagree? And I think once we get to that place where we've disagreed about something, most of the time we don't get it resolved. So we take time, reflect on it, think about it. And I think this is a very great approach, especially with us, is as much as you want to get it done at that time, we are different states of mind. And it's quite interesting, because if she is looking at it as he has hurt me, and I'm looking at it, I'm trying to pass something across, and that's not being communicated properly, then what's the point in going on with that? So most of the time that we just allow it to go at that time, just take your leave, reflect on it. And as she always says, like, you know, sometimes maybe before I get to where I'm going to, I get a text and everything, and like, you know, I'm sorry that I went on this way and that. And I was already thinking about it too as well. And I said, you know what? Yeah, we'll just move on from here. Okay. And maybe when we come back at the end of the day, we just sit down and, okay, where did we go wrong with this? And we just go over it again. Okay. And I'm not saying we always get it right, but I'm just saying that the process of reflection and, you know, analyzing the whole thing and seeing what we could do better, like, makes it a better ending than how it started.
How about you, Julia?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with what's been said. I definitely, sometimes with certain conversation, you do need that space so that one can reflect on what was really being said, you know, listen to the other one's viewpoint and see whether it really is something I would take on, or, you know, what is he trying to say really. But it's sometimes we have to put ourselves behind and just focus on really what do we want to achieve out of this conversation, or where we're going. And that's when you find, okay, I'll send that text and say, okay, or he would have sent me a text already and apologize. So we're actually in the same ground, thinking about it, reflecting on it, and realizing that we're apologizing to each other. So when we come back, it's like, oh, it's okay, you know, we're sorry, and, you know, let's just move on, or I wouldn't say that, or let us do this, and we're just agreeing now on how we can move forward, rather than, you know, going back on the same story.
Great.
Fantastic.
So is just a question, so is that something, we use this a lot, the word solution focused, so is this something that is a focus for you? Yeah, we've had this argument, it's not about proving whether I'm right or wrong, we just want to fix it now.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess one of the things that we agreed early in our marriage, Ruth, was that we wouldn't get a divorce. That we were, and once that baseline was set, no matter how much she hurt me or how much I hurt her, we said we are not getting a divorce, so we have to sort this out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, we have to have a resolution. And we have to find a way to communicate. It's like, I don't want to live in a house where we're arguing. Okay, let's sit down and talk about it. Okay. So I guess and another way that we use is intentionality. We have to be intentional about things and actually purpose. Like, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. I'm conscious that we're coming almost to the end of our show. Maybe just a final question. You guys have heard of love languages, Gary Smalley, John Trent, or Gary Chapman fame. What are your love languages?
Oh yeah, we had the opportunity of, we had the book, didn't we? Love languages, when we did our counseling. And so yours is affirmation, words of affirmation, and mine's
yours is act of service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like, as I was saying, I think it was earlier, was it today or something? Julia doesn't want you to sit down when she's moving. Like when Julia's doing some work, she wants you to be moving. And I told her, I said, see, you need to start appreciating me. Right now, like, seriously, when you're moving doesn't mean I should.
Right.
I've done my own stuff. You have chosen to do it.
Right.
So appreciate that I have done it. Because I think it's like, until we finish doing what we're doing together, we can't sit down and rest.
Yeah, we're doing, it's a team thing, isn't it? For me, it's a teamwork. Why should you be sitting while I'm busy doing something? You could be helping me doing something else. That's my point. So that's why the act of service is so important. You don't have to help.
I carry my wife's love language on my phone to remind myself in case I forget. And here's quality time. And what that means to you, Ruth, is that undivided attention. And then also physical touch, impromptu public affection, and words of affirmation as well. Do you remember mine, Ruth? This is a test.
So you had physical touch, which we kind of debated a little bit, but it is his love language, and also the acts of service. I think early on we realised that the affirmation, it just wasn't a thing. No. I could say, oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, that's brilliant. He'd be like, doesn't mean anything. I think for Brian, don't say it, do it.
Show me. Yeah.
Whereas on the other hand, I have to affirm him all the time. You're so great. Oh, thank you so much for what you've been doing. He does love to be affirmed of everything.
But you see, that's the difference. And at least you guys are at the point where you appreciate one another's difference and you're willing to act on it.
Yeah. But the reason why she has to do it is because if she does it, like if he affirms, then maybe another time she doesn't. So basically, when she's doing it the next time, it's like she has to double up on the one she did.
Whatever it takes, Julia. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, so yeah, we're
See,
working.
I have like I said, I have a love language on my phone, so I don't forget. Yeah. Okay.
So we're coming towards the end, but so what kind of advice would you give to a couple who's thinking about getting married, or even just dating right now, in terms of communication, and what kind of advice would you give them?
I would think the three points I got: respect, reflect, and think of
Seek to understand.
Yeah, seek to understand.
So tell us
where's
a little
that
bit,
from?
Yeah. Well, respect is the foundation. You know, if we have respect, doesn't matter what conversation we have in, we respect each other, whether it's verbally or tone or body language, whatever it is, respect is like the foundation. Then we need to, be able to when someone is speaking, try to, look at their viewpoint. So you want to know, okay, what they're saying, what I'm saying. It's very selfish of us to it's my point, that's what I'm saying. But you want someone to realize that it's not just about what I'm saying, it's what the other person is saying, and trying to understand where they're coming from. Okay. So that, I think that takes a bit of maturity there, but that definitely is another point. So seek to understand the other person, and then
I'll just get hit on that. I think there's this book we've been reading, the seven habits of highly effective people. Very brilliant book by Stephen Covey. And one of the effective habit is seek to understand before you are understood. Okay. Most of the time it's about empathizing. So empathizing basically is more of understanding and caring about where the person is coming from. When you put yourself in that place and you say, why is the person behaving like this? So if you can put yourself in that person's place and you can walk out the way they are, then it actually applies sort of like, it's like a ripple effect to how you're now going to communicate back to that person, seeing them from where they're coming from. And most of the time, you get their attention more than always trying to pass your own points across. That was a very big one. And the reflection, I think, is a very important thing. We need to reflect on, what has happened and how we can make it better.
Brilliant. Thank you. Any closing remarks, Brian?
Well, I just want to thank Yinka and Julia for coming on the show and for sharing a bit about your experience and your journey. And the hope is and the prayer is that somebody out there may have been encouraged to just to work things out in their marriage and not necessarily just give up on it, because family matters.
That's right. So you have been listening to Family Matters on Adventist Radio London. We really want you to tune in. Next time we'll be on every third Sunday of the month. If you've got any topics you want us to talk about, any questions, any tips and tricks, please email in at studio@adventistradio.london or text 82228, the word hope with a space, and then we'll message you.